Hi, I'm so excited to continue our conversation about travel and business with Topaz Smith today. She is the CEO and founder of Ennoble, a travel brand focused on helping the travel industry become more sustainable and responsible. Today, we are diving deeper with Topaz and her experiences with travel programs like Study Abroad, Peace Corps, and the United Nations Global Initiative, and how these opportunities fueled her passion for travel and ultimately inspired her to create her company, Ennoble. Welcome back, Topaz, and thank you for being here with me today. How are you?
Thanks for having me again, Jasmine, and hello to your followers and community. I'm grateful to be here again, sharing more about me and Ennoble, a travel service connecting seasoned travelers to authentic subcultures globally, and doing that sustainably and sharing travel equity so that the BIPOC community can also gain more out of the travel industry. So thanks.
That's awesome. Yes, of course. You are welcome here anytime, and I'm happy to have you back again. We had an amazing conversation last week, and unfortunately, we got cut off a little early, which is why we're just going to continue all of that goodness today. But before we do that, I want to welcome all of you that are watching here on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for tuning in to the last live stream that Topaz and I had, and of course, all of our live streams that we have here on the Jazzy Nation every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you like these types of videos. And of course, subscribing helps so you're notified for future notifications in the future. And of course, if you have not seen part 1 of this conversation, feel free to check out the link in the bio, as well as the card that I will put on this video for the replay. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Topaz, we're going to jump straight in. You gave a little bit of information about yourself and about Ennoble. And where we left off last week was you kind of starting off telling everyone about your travel stories. So it was so interesting hearing that you actually started traveling at age 14. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you go back to that conversation just a little bit and talk about what traveling at 14 was like?
Yeah, sure. Traveling at 14 was amazing. I mean, I went on school trips each year with my international school, where we studied a language, the history and culture of a country, and then we would go to the country. So at 14, we were studying Portugal, and I took Portuguese and studied for 2 years actually. And when we went to Portugal, my teacher prepared us, to kind of look on the outskirts and try and find things. He was from northern Portugal, and was like an ex-soldier in the Portuguese military. So he knew all of the hidden gems. And, he was like, when we go to Porto, go shopping. When we go to Porto, taste the wine, even though you're like 14. Yeah, right. I was like, I can taste. And when we go to the Algarve, wander around. And yes, we had our teachers as, our chaperones, but I mean, I was still in a hotel room with somebody who was 14, and she too was like, all right, let's go grab something to eat down the street. So it allowed me exposure at a very young age into cultures that weren't really like given to me or like told to me in my community, in my local community. So that experience was amazing. I would be laid out in the Algarve in like March when my friends are doing regions, and they're like, where are you? Like, what are you doing?
That's awesome.
Posting that on like Facebook, or what is it? Back then it was like MySpace. Yeah. So I just loved engaging with people from different cultures because, I was learning about natas, and just the different ways of eating, the different ways of communicating, and just realizing how important that was, when entering into certain circles where you needed to kind of know what these people were like, and
Mm-hmm.
how to engage best with them. So that was 14, and then obviously each year we went to a different country, which was just great. You know, I took
Mm-hmm.
Portuguese, I took French, Spanish, Japanese. Um, what else? Am I forgetting anything? I just took a lot of different things. And
You're very well rounded.
yeah, and then like during like for one of the weeks, well, during a week during the school year, sorry, we would go to different places of worship. It would be called glory days. And
Wow.
so we would go to like a Buddhist temple. We would go to like, you know, like a spiritual center. Like we would go to a mosque. We would go to, so it was very diversified in terms of just connecting locally with
Mhm.
people from different backgrounds.
That's awesome. I mean, at such a young age, I mean, right now I can't think of what I was doing at 14, but it was traveling, and it just sounds like you had so much freedom. Not that they just kind of let you loose, but that freedom to explore, I think, is really important for young folks because it allows you to see so much more than yourself, and it helps you to get out of that box and helps you to see what can be possible as you grow into young adults and now adults, right? So I think that's so important, and that exploration that you were able to have is something that young kids, especially with our generation, maybe weren't allowed to have back then. But you know, I think with our conversation today, you know, of course, we're chatting to more of a millennial audience, but if we have some young folks out there in the audience that are looking to just, you know, further your horizons, please just listen to this conversation, because these are the times in your lives where it's really pivotal for you to start thinking about, okay, like, what would I like to do? What options are out there and available to me? So I think that that's cool. Just hearing that you were able to travel at such a young age might be that spark or catalyst to help a young person see that that's possible for themselves. So thank you
Yeah.
for
And
sharing that
I
story.
really hope it does, because I mean that was
Mhm.
so important for me, and led to so much confidence.
That's awesome. So today's stream is particularly about travel programs, and of course, how these travel programs shaped who you are today and how they helped you build your company Ennoble. But can you briefly explain what travel programs you were a part of and when you joined those programs? And for those that maybe have never heard of Study Abroad, Peace Corps, or the United Nations Global Initiatives, can you kind of give a little explanation of what those are as well?
Sure, sure. So I'll start off with study abroad. I mean, I think I mentioned this in the previous video, that once I experienced Portugal, I was like, oh, I'm coming back to Europe to live for some time.
Yes.
At 14, you know. No, I was actually the year before that. It was Spain. It was England and Wales that we did. And
Wow.
I experienced England and Wales, which are completely different places. Don't get it twisted, because they don't like that. But yeah, I had experienced England and Wales, and I was just like, oh my days, I love Europe. So I definitely made sure that when I looked for a college, I was like, I need to find a college that's going to allow me to live abroad. Like, I was like, that has to happen. So like when I look for colleges, it was just like, let's just look at your study abroad program. Just that. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
priority.
perfect.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And so I really wanted to study abroad because of my experiences traveling. And I wanted that freedom again to just be me in a different place, and kind of figure out more about myself, my likes and dislikes. And so I decided to do that. And I went through my college. They had a study abroad program in a lot of different countries. I mean, a lot of colleges and universities have these established study abroad programs. If not,
Yes.
like there are like institutions or like companies that offer these study abroad programs globally. So I don't
Right.
think that anyone can't do it. I think it's just figuring out scholarships that can fund it, because there's a lot of scholarships out there that can fund your study abroad program, which I received. And so I think I think it's doing the work and knowing that this experience is going to be worth it. And it's going to add so much value to your resume, so much value to just like your job prospects, because once people see that you have international experiences, it's like, okay, so you know something that somebody else might not know who didn't get that opportunity to travel outside of the country.
Right.
And you'll have it easier in terms of engaging with people from different cultures, especially within companies where they need to maintain certain diplomatic relationships, and just to create company culture that is that has cultural intelligence and that can create an atmosphere of belonging for people from different backgrounds, which is extremely important, very important. I think it's not emphasized enough. It's kind of, people think that you just get it, but you actually don't. Like, it's lived. So I decided to check out study abroad programs with my university and made sure that was a priority. Once picking my university, they had it, and and then I just went through there. Now, there are also smaller programs within university that have like 2 weeks study abroad, or like, you go with a professor for 2 weeks. And I did that in Brazil when I worked with the professor on an international ecotourism project, which brought us to Brazil to survey in Portuguese different ecotourism businesses there, to find out more about how they sustain their business and how they're working in the industry as community-based organizations, and being able to profit without, giving away too much of their resources where they don't even have water for themselves. So that's another route. If you don't do study abroad, it's like, find those 2-week programs that allow you insight into, China, or like, I was going to say Russia, but I don't know. Greece, just being able to put yourself into spaces that are different, but offer you a fresh perspective. When it comes to Peace Corps, that was a decision I made after graduate school, or during graduate school. I was actually in Ethiopia and Egypt, when I had to do the interviews online, and I kept on losing internet. I kept on losing
abroad. Yes.
I was on the third phone call, and I was like on the floor in my hotel in Egypt, and like begging like for internet connection. I was like, please just give me just a little bit of internet. I just need like the least amount of internet to finish this interview. That's all I need to do is finish it. Because it was like the third attempt. It was so bad. But obviously I got the interview done and went into Peace Corps, which I think, was a great experience for me. I actually had just finished my graduate degree at the New School, which is very liberal, very social justice oriented school.
Cool. Where was this?
This is at 14th Street in New York City, the New School.
Oh, okay, the New School.
Yeah, there's Parsons and Milano and Lang, Man School of Jazz. Very open, school. They were like the first to admit. James Baldwin went there. They were like one of the first to admit the Jews when they after the Holocaust, I think, because they weren't admitting them in a lot of institutions in the States. So they were just pretty open back in the day, and I think that still is today. They still have that type of leadership in certain situations. But anyway, so it, I was coming from this open thought school, and then I went into the State Department. I didn't realize that Peace Corps was actually a part of the State Department, but it is.
Cool.
And I quickly realized that the work that I was going to be doing was not really what I wanted to do, like my true self. And so I decided to leave Peace Corps early. But I think there are a lot of returned Peace Corps volunteers that have done the 2 years and 3 months that have done well. I think it's based on the project in country and how you best feel about committing to that time and getting it done. And so I decided to leave. But I think people are like, once you do look up what it is that you want to do, because there are projects that range from English teaching to environment to agriculture. There's so many different projects. Once you
Yes.
commit to those experiences, and you know that, this is something you want to do, people have done well. And what I wanted to do was like go into Peace Corps and become a diplomat and, continue working in kind of diplomacy. But obviously my love for tourism overtook that. But
Which is
that's
okay.
that's sometimes the route. And I know you as a foreign service officer, you've had, or you have connections to people who are
Yeah.
RPCVs. And that's one way that people can get into international work, as
Yes.
U.S. citizens or people living in America, that are wanting to dedicate themselves to that cross-cultural way of life.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then the United Nations Global Initiative, I worked with them after Peace Corps when I came back to New York. And that was around the SDGs, so the Sustainable Development Goals that, a lot of people are committing themselves to, and making sure that they understand moving forward and on how to make our planet better, and become better people by connecting and improving socioeconomic statuses across all boards. So that, I think, also helped me connect with people from different backgrounds, because uh, there's different chapters in globally. So, there'll be like people in Italy, people in Mali. There'll be like a program manager that kind of focuses on the SDGs in those different places, internationally. And so I worked a lot with these people, and also with the staff to work on potential partnerships and contracts and legal matters around making sure that the projects that we did were, complete and were according to the donors and certain legal constraints, or just legal commitments that we had with donors. So that was really the work. But I think I used a lot of my experiences working abroad in particular instances. So I also worked in the Amalfi Coast in Positano at a 5-star hotel with a 2 Michelin-star restaurant, and that was right after I had studied abroad in Rome. And I feel like I brought a lot of those. My understanding of customer service, and like 5-star customer service, where like the phone can't ring more than once, and like
No,
working with,
very true.
yeah, it was like intense. Like, and then I was also the first Black person to work there. So,
Wow. How
yeah,
was that experience? Was that
you know, um, that is always an
difficult for you?
experience, huh?
Was that difficult for you to integrate yourself in that type of a culture?
I wouldn't say so, because like I already like grew up as like the only one,
Right.
So
I
it's like
get
when
it.
you're 14, in a predominantly white school, and you just have to learn how to navigate. That's something that you grow into, right? And
Right.
which is why I said these things just don't come like that. They're
Mhm.
lived, because you have to know how to um, change course sometimes, when you're put in a situation where you just have to adapt and figure it out.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
like in that case, I mean, I had previously lived in Rome, and I had 7 white roommates. And so white female roommates, actually. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, like, for me, it was like, okay, I could do this. I lived in Rome. I toured Rome by myself.
Mhm.
And I was familiar with like Southern Italian culture, which is different from Northern Italian culture, by the way. So
Interesting.
yeah, there's some differences. So it was interesting to be there. I was grateful for it. definitely because in the summertime it's like so many people. But
Mhm.
it was for me. It was just a way to integrate, a way to understand more about 5-star service and hospitality, but also what the Amalfi Coast is to so many people.
Mhm.
Because once you usually bring up that topic, it's like people are like, "What? The Amalfi Coast? Oh my God, I want to go!"
Yes. But
So
when it's those lived experiences that give you the perspective to tell people, like what it really is or what it
yeah,
was really like,
yeah,
and all of those things as well. So I think that's why it's so important for us to continue to tell our travel stories,
mm-hmm.
because it gives those looking in that insight that maybe they wouldn't have just from like an Instagram post or just a
Yeah,
photo or something like
yeah,
that. So conversations about travel and experiences are so, so important. But I think your path, your trajectory of travel and travel experiences and professional opportunities is just so cool. And
mm,
it definitely is an evolution from starting at 14 to study abroad to Peace Corps with graduate school and all of that backing as well to your global United Nations Global Initiative work as well. And I can totally see the tie-in now with all of those experiences and how they lead into Ennoble and your mission of sustainable, responsible travel and just being more ingrained into community efforts and things like that. I think, it's just brilliant. It really
mm.
is, just from where you started to now. But can you give a little bit more insight into Ennoble and kind of the things that you are looking forward to doing this year and next year when travel is going to be, a little bit more booming and people are looking to, book some experiences and different things like that?
Sure, sure, yeah. I think so. Right now, the focus is more domestic. So, like New York City, I'm a native New Yorker, so I have like a lot of insight into New York City. Um, the focus is on tapping into those countries that are represented here, right? Like, yes, we can't
Yeah.
travel. We can't really travel internationally. Yes, there are people traveling, but there's a risk associated. And I think for people who have been really affected by COVID, which I've had numerous deaths, you don't really want to do it just because of that.
Right.
Um, but once again, I think it's more to who's been really affected. Um,
Mhm.
and so the focus is on creating spaces for people to have um, those international, or scratch their itch for travel a bit closer to home. And so it's developing these guides and itineraries that people can purchase so that um, they can understand more about this culture now, so that when they go, they're preparing for those immersive experiences in country. That's what Ennoble is working on. We're also working on potential partnerships with like-minded individuals and companies that can bring about more awareness, that have a larger platform, that are looking for allies like us in the space. And so I'd say that's really what's happening right now. And we're also doing virtual experiences. How can I forget that? Virtual experiences with natives from different countries, that um, aren't professional chefs, but do have homey vibe, an opportunity to share more of those um, family secrets, that make I think the experience much more personable, and authentic to the culture. So we recently shot an Afro-Peruvian cooking webinar with a native
Ooh.
from Peru. Yes, an Afro-Peruvian woman who was previously a beauty contestant and won several beauty contests in America, but wasn't able to do that in Peru, because of the limitations around race and just barriers. And so, so we have shot a cooking class with her, and we're going to be doing more, just showcasing Afro-Peruvian cuisine, and just shining a light on those cultural fusions that sometimes people just don't know of, like Chinese Italians and um, so many others that are there, but are just not looked into a bit more than they should. So that's also something that we're focused on. And we're also focused on trying to create those experiences in the city of New York, but it's been challenging, not gonna lie, with COVID restrictions,
Right.
restaurants closing down, certain portions of the city that offer so much cultural insight, unfortunately aren't there anymore. And so it's navigating those challenges and figuring out the best way to keep people engaged and continue showcasing opportunities that people can have here. But we plan to expand that to different cities globally, because target market our target market are people that are interested in culture, people who are open to diversifying their mindset and creating opportunities around connecting with people from different ethnic backgrounds and just having a deep cultural experience that they really enjoy, in that human to human exchange. So I find that a lot of these people are in cities, and cities also offer that melting pot of culture, even though there are major silos. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, you go into a city, oh, it's so nice. You go into New York City, and ooh, you jump into this and you get into this." There are silos. Don't get it twisted. You know who lives over there and who lives over here. And that's on purpose. So let's not kid ourselves.
Right.
But I think this is an opportunity to kind of bring people together in a way that you're able to appreciate culture, you're able to appreciate the differences and connect through that. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And we'll get to where people can find you and book some experiences a little later. But first, I wanted to just go through some of our comments and some of the folks that are tuning in today. So we've got Trey Cad. You said, "Hey, Jazzy," and wow. So I want to say thank you so much, Trey Cad, for tuning in. Stephen John left a heart. Thank you so much. And then Joy Karima, I think that's how you say your name. Hi, you left a bunch of really great messages in the chat. So I just wanted to say thank you all so much for watching today. And for those of you that are watching on the live or on the replay, which is not live, it's just a replay, thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the Jazzy Nation, either here on Facebook or here on YouTube as well, because you will be notified for future live streams and other awesome content. But I do want to jump right into our lightning round, if you don't mind me asking you some quick fire questions, Topaz. Yeah. So with our lightning round, you can expand on your answer if you'd like, or just give me a little quick answer. So the first question I have for you is, are you a solopreneur or are you building/working with a team? We're talking business today.
So I am a solopreneur. I am a solopreneur.
Yeah. It takes some time to build up and to work on that trust and all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, I think it's also finding the skill set. Sometimes it's hard to kind of tap into those committed folk. So that's, I'm a solopreneur.
Yeah. All right, next question, a little more tame. Do you prefer travel to cold or hot climates?
That's hard. I do both, it's like Peru, you go to Lima. If it's hot in Lima, it's cold in Cusco. If it's cold in Cusco, it's hot in Lima. I don't know. No.
I love that.
If it's hot in Cusco, it's cold in Lima. Yeah, that's bad. So I think it's just for me, it's just seeing the beauty in these different places, obviously I'm a Black person, so I like my heat. But I also like to put on clothes and to, observe Olite Dambo at 11,000 feet above sea level, or 9,000 feet above sea level, or whatever it is. So I think it's just dependent on the country.
Yes. You're cutting out just a little bit. I just wanted to let you know that, just in case. But
Yeah.
I want to ask you another question, another quick question. So, which country, out of all the countries that you've
Oh,
visited, would you go? Not what's your favorite, because that's always a
okay.
hard answer. I know, I'm not going to do that to you. But which country would you go back to if you were given the opportunity over and over again, like yearly, as many times as you could? It's still hard, I know. Hmm.
Oh my God.
You've
Um,
been to a lot of places.
yeah. Not enough yet. Not enough. I
Fair
would
enough.
say Bali.
Bali. That is a place that I have yet to travel to myself. But why Bali?
I think it's just Bali is a place where it's just like its own world. It's its own world.
Hmm.
And I appreciate it because it's the getaway that you get there. It's like very peaceful. The people are really nice. The
I love
art
that.
is everywhere. I mean, these
Mhm.
people, the Balinese people are just artists. I feel like everybody's artists there, like legitly. It's just the way they make their food, the way they, they'll, I don't know, carve a pencil and it's like, it could be in a museum. It's like, guys, like they're
Mhm.
just so artistic. You'll be driving on the road, you'll just see this. They carved a sculpture out of a tree, and it's just there.
Wow.
So you're just like, it feels like you're walking around in a magical jungle. Like that's
That
Bali.
sounds beautiful. I
Yeah,
mean, I've seen the pictures, but the
yeah,
way that you just explain it is just, that really makes me want to go like tomorrow if I can.
yeah. Like it's so beautiful, and the people.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
days, the people are just amazing. Just warm,
That's,
very warm.
I really feel like people
Yeah,
make up like half of my experience when I go
yeah.
somewhere. So to hear that people are warm and amazing, and then
Mhm.
food, I mean, that's amazing. I have a comment from Stephen John. He says you should study abroad in Morocco in the Caribbean next to Aruba, which is a multicultural country. That would be amazing. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
well, I really want to do that because I absolutely love Afro Dutch culture, which is Curacao, the ABC Islands, and I actually know someone who went there and like had a blast.
That's
But
awesome.
I have not gone yet. I need to. When I do go, I want to do both, Aruba, well, all three of them, Aruba, Bonaire,
Yes.
and Curacao. But I do offer trips to the Netherlands uh, that tap into that culture. People who are from Curacao that live in the Netherlands, and
Wow.
highlight those experiences that sometimes are overlooked by people traveling to the Netherlands and not able to understand or not able to realize that there are people from those countries that are there and can give them an experience that's a little bit different.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Very cool. I have another question for you. Street food or restaurant food while traveling?
Oh, so it depends because I found that restaurant food, well, street food in Thailand, oh my days, I was like,
So good.
so like I would get up at like 10:30 just to eat. Like it was really bad. In Chiang
Right?
Mai and like in Bangkok, I was like, this food? Um Singapore was actually good too. But ultimately I think it depends on country because like in Brazil, I did street food and it did not end very well for me and my friend. So
Mm. Yeah, it's so different for everybody, right? It
yeah,
really is.
yeah, it
But that
definitely
makes
depends.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, my last question for you is about living abroad. We have a lot of expats or future expats, nomads that watch this channel. And my question to you, because you're currently in the States, But do you prefer living abroad or do you prefer being stateside? I know my answer. What's yours?
This is hard. I prefer being abroad. I do. I prefer being abroad because what it does is I just live differently. I just live very differently when I live abroad. I'm a minimalist when I live abroad. In America, it's like glutton, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. It's hilarious because when I come back home, it's like I'm like, oh my God, a cheeseburger. You go for all of the most like fatty things. Like it's just like, this is America. Like, come on.
You're back home and you're like, oh, McDonald's. And it's like, when did I ever eat this?
All of the things you never eat, you get home and you're like, oh my God, I'm craving this. It's funny. But I prefer living abroad just because I think I appreciate this little things so much more. I think in America, you could get sidetracked by just trying to be successful, just trying to be like, your best self and just like competing. But I feel like abroad, it's just like you start to realize like how much you take for granted, and how much, you are, how much opportunities you actually have that you sometimes don't see when you're back in the States. I know for myself, like I backpacked Morocco and by myself because I love traveling solo. And I mean, I met this guy and he was just like, I'm hungry. And I was just like, dang, I don't know how he found me.
It's different.
It's real different. Like it's real different. And I think it, just gives you, like, I just feel so much more like grounded for some reason. I don't know, but I do. And I'm so open to just wanting to learn more and to just explore, because I'm not familiar. And obviously doing so in a way that's responsible and like,
yes,
but I prefer living abroad. So there's that.
I have a question from Tracy who said, I loved Morocco. Yeah. I loved Morocco too. That is my heart. There's a video, by the way, coming up tomorrow on my channel all about Morocco. So stay tuned for that if you love Morocco.
Right. Can we just have a moment of silence for Moroccan food?
Please. Oh, please. The clips in tomorrow's video are of me pigging out because I love Moroccan food. We have a whole section. It's just all about that. I mean, I cannot.
Insane. It's insane. Like I literally was just dumbfounded. Like when I got to Fez, I was like, excuse me? Like I told the people in the kitchen, I was like, what are you doing in there? What are you doing?
Right. Yes. Did you take any cooking classes or anything just to learn?
No.
Like to the back?
No.
I had to.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening? What is in my mouth? I need to see how you put this together. And I mean, the things, the concoctions that are put together for that food, it makes no sense. Yeah, I actually just had a little Moroccan mint tea party last week for a couple of days. I was just like, I have some fresh mint. Like, let me just, put it in my little teapot and do the whole like pulling of the tea. It was a whole thing. You gotta make your own travel experiences when you're not.
You really do. You really do.
Yes. Yeah. But one thing I want to touch on before we end is going back to all of your experiences. I think it's just so important. And when we talk about study abroad, Peace Corps, United Nations Global Initiatives, Foreign Service, all of these things, there are ways for you all out there to travel without paying for travel or paying a lot of money for travel. And that goes with schooling as well. There are scholarships, programs. I mean, you have to do the work. That was something that Topaz said. Hey, Shanae, that was something that Topaz said early on is you have to do that work. You have to do the work to figure out what programs and different opportunities are out there because they are out there. And especially for my folks of color, like people want you in spaces there are programs for that. So just
Can we just stop real quick though? Because I think a lot of the times like people make it seem like these are unattainable things. Like
yes,
or that they're the only Black person who can like do this. And
yes,
I don't really
it's
like
not
that
true.
vibe.
It's
No, no,
not
no.
true.
I think that what we can do as people who are, you know, open and have these experiences is you know, give people this information. So like there's
Mhm.
teaching English abroad. You know, some I know a lot of people who went that route and
Yep.
did it, had amazing experiences, not so amazing experiences because they pay you less
Mhm.
if you're Black, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, do your work and understand the amount of money that you'll be getting. But
Mhm.
there's teaching in Japan, there's teaching in China, there's
Yes.
teaching in South Korea, um, teaching in Vietnam, right? You know, people don't realize that English is a currency. It's a currency. I mean, you're talking about
Yes.
like Greek
Yes.
back in the day, right? Like this is how people communicate globally. And I think a lot of us aren't tapping into that currency of English.
Mhm.
The fact that
Mhm.
people pay you gazillions amount of money because they just don't have that naturally. Like
Yeah.
that's not something they grew up with. I think so many more people of color understanding that, you know, all right, you want to do a gap year, teach English in South Korea.
Yes.
Do it.
Why not?
Yeah.
It really is just that simple. Honestly, I know that
Yeah.
I mean, it might sound like I
Yeah.
can say that because I've done
Yeah,
that
we've
or
done a
I'm
rush.
living that life, but I'm so serious,
Yeah,
y'all.
it's
Like
that
it is
simple.
that
You
simple.
go
Like
on
you just have to
tlit.com. Go on tlit.com.
elit.com.
tlit.com. Go
Okay,
teach in Taiwan.
I'll put that in the
Yeah.
description for y'all on the replay. Hmm.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
like go there, look at this, say, okay, well, I'll do this for 3 months, I'll do this for 6 months, go and just do it. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's one way that we can really get people in. And one thing that we had discussed, Jasmine, prior to this was like lived experiences versus travel
Mhm.
experiences. And
Yeah.
like knowing that they're very different.
Yes.
Because it's like when you
100%.
live in this for 7 months, it's like, or like years, you're just like, okay, this is not like how I saw it, obviously, if I was
Mhm.
just here for 2 weeks. And
Mhm. Oh,
so
100%.
so I think, you know, sometimes you'll see a completely different vibe from somebody who's lived in a certain place and
Yep.
someone who's just like kind of hopscotching to different
Right.
places.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that's key to think about when you're, you know, and I do appreciate you doing this and sharing more of your story, because I think what it does is give people insight into like the actual realities of like
Right.
living in a place, like having to like open a door, you know, with your key,
Yeah.
and residing there,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, I agree. I have a comment from Shanae, and she says, that is true. It takes research and connecting with individuals that are doing it to gauge if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
100%. And that kind of goes back to your story with the Foreign Service, Topaz.
Mhm.
You said that, or not Foreign Service, excuse me, Peace Corps. You said that you know, stopped doing Peace Corps after a period of time because that wasn't the best fit for you. And
Yeah.
it's important to realize those things as well. You know, Peace Corps is an amazing opportunity. Study abroad is an amazing opportunity. All these are amazing opportunities, but you have to find what's right for you. And one program or one opportunity is not going to be right for everybody, and that's okay too.
Yeah, totally.
Mhm. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So I want to end us off on a high note. I love this. Like, you know, it's a joy for me to share you with everybody else because I feel like, you know, I would have probably called you anyways. Like, I really like you. I think you're so cool. And I hope that we can, you know, maintain this connection
Totally.
as we move forward with our friendship. But I do want to ask you before we end off, where can people find you and how can people that are curious go about booking experiences with you?
Sure. So right now we're uploading the experiences, the guides, and itineraries to different platforms, and that information is coming out very soon. For now, they can email me at info@ennoble.com, en-noble.com, to learn more about our services. They can also go on our website, en-noble.com, and
Okay.
see more of our services, what we offer, and is a bit more of our story. We something that we also do is we reinvest 1% of our revenue back into our local partners to build out their capacity. Because one thing I saw was that, many times in tourism, people go to these countries, they buy like a necklace for like $2, or like
Mhm.
$5, and it doesn't really carry much weight when it comes to changing the trajectory of these communities. And
Right.
so what we want to do is create more opportunities for them by putting more money into their spaces so that they can offer more attractions. They can offer more opportunities for people to learn about their culture and make it sustainable for them. So I would say check out our website. We're also on Instagram at en.noble. We couldn't get the hyphen, unfortunately, but en.noble on Instagram. Feel free to follow us on Instagram, and feel
Yes.
free to DM us if you need any more information.
Perfect. So awesome. I'll put all that information in the description box for the replay folks as well. So you can easily contact Ms. Topaz for future experiences and just to connect with her in general. But I do want to say thank you again, Topaz, for being on the Jazzy Nation this week. I so enjoyed having you for this conversation, and I look forward to having more conversations with you in the future. So again, do not be a stranger. You're welcome here anytime. And for those of you who are watching right now, thank you so much for tuning in. I so appreciate you all just hanging out with us. Really, this is just like a fun hangout session. I'm just so glad to be able to bring you awesome content like this, content that is going to help you to live your best life, to live your dream life, and just to see yourself in positions where you can travel, live life abroad, or whatever you want to do. Feel free to ask me questions. You can send me an email at hello@thejazzynation.com, and I'm here to serve you all in all the ways that I can. So thank you again, Topaz, for
Thank
coming on,
you.
and we'll see you in a future stream.
Yes, ciao. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.